Welcome to the Salt Strong Fishing Podcast. Salt Strong has been helping saltwater anglers catch more fish in less time for 10 years and is now the largest and most trusted saltwater fishing community in America. If you want to catch more saltwater fish, then keep listening. If you want to speed up your fish catching results even faster, then join the private insider community at saltstrong.com. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
What's up, Salt Strong Nation? Joe Simons, like diamonds.
And Luke Simons.
Like diamonds. We're talking about buying fishing spots on Facebook Marketplace. Yes, that is a thing. I don't know if it's a big thing, but it is a thing. There was a gentleman, got a somewhat inappropriately named YouTube channel, but I still will give him some credit. It's Go the F Outside. And he posted a video inside of our Salt Strong Facebook group. We have a big Facebook group. I don't know, 110,000 people or so. That's the free one. That's not the Insider Club. That's two different things. But we still get in there and monitor every once in a while. And he put a video in there and it got my attention because I'll just read it. It says, I bought fishing spots on Facebook Marketplace. Here's what happened. And so it was like a 20-minute video. I ended up watching the whole thing. Just one evening, was kind of bored. And guys, good in front of the camera, did good editing. So if you're watching this, I actually enjoyed the video. And he and his buddy, who's also a good angler. These guys are both good anglers, meaning they know how to fish. They're not newbies. They're serious anglers. And he was down in South Florida and went on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, and was able to buy fishing spots. I think about 10 or 11 of them total, anywhere from $3 to $5. It seemed like from the video. So let's just call it $50 to get 11 spots. And from at least from the video, I don't know if he fished all 11 because it kind of cut out some of them, but basically 3 of the spots, so we'll say 3 out of 11, he connected with at least one fish, if not a couple. And so it got me thinking, like, man, is that a good deal? I guess it depends on your budget and how much money you have. Would get pretty expensive if you had to spend $50 just on a handful of spots every single time you went fishing, especially when you compare it to like smart fishing spots where you pay $97 for the whole year and you go fishing 300 times and it's always one price.
And
but I think even more
too.
Yeah, and thousands, in every major state that we cover, from Texas to basically New Jersey now. But I think the bigger discussion is it's not just spots. And I think, when we were moving from freshwater to inshore saltwater fishing, we thought it was, hey, we just need more spots, like GPS spots. And then we thought it was more tackle. And let's talk about what it really is first. And we'll kind of circle back to when it might make sense to actually buy spots.
Yeah. And for saltwater, so especially, the spots is just a tiny part of the equation. Talking about spots and spots only, like buying spots, I obviously don't recommend it. It's a spot is just a spot. For saltwater, it's all about the spot based on conditions. If you don't know exactly when to fish that spot, some spots it's rare that a spot is always good all the time. You have to know when to go there. And with saltwater, you have the different tide cycles. The water is moving different directions. The water depth is changing. And many spots are really good on one specific set of conditions, and then it's terrible on multiple other sets of conditions. So my biggest mistake for many years, I was like that. I was focused on spots. I was getting those, what are those maps in Walmart called Top Spot maps?
Top spots, yeah, spot maps, yeah.
Yeah, so I would literally, I bought one for every area that I fished. So actually, sometimes we had 2. If I was going on a trip and I couldn't find my one, I would literally go out.
2 pairs of gloves this entire time?
Yeah.
We're in the Rockies.
Yeah, I literally like, that was what I went by, and I struggled. I really did struggle. And it would tell you the seasons. It would tell you the general seasons. And obviously, I'm not picking on that one. There's I'm sure there's others out there. But it would say the general season that an area should be good, but that's not enough. The wind direction, and depending on the season, depends on what factors are most important. If you're not sure about those factors, take our fishing school. It's now free of charge. It's free for everybody. Saltstrong.com. You'll see links to the fishing school. It's segmented by skill level, and it'll walk you through the details to get you to the point that you never have to worry about buying any spots from anybody. You'll know simply by looking at a map, and especially with our software, know the conditions, and then based on that, know exactly where the most fish are going to be.
And how to fish it, right? Because that's the other big part that I want to hammer home here is the education part of it. And that doesn't sound as sexy as a fishing spot or a new rod or reel, but it's critical, right? You could put a new angler in all of your best spots or these spots that this guy bought. And if he doesn't know how to rig his lure or live bait, what depth to have it, right? I mean, having the right jig head is critical, and it changes during different times of the year, different species you're going after, even different times of the day. You're not going to be throwing a topwater if you're wise, in the middle of the day when the sun's up and there's not a single cloud out. But if you're new, you might not know that, right? And so much of it goes back to the education as well, which is, how we started Salt Strong. It's all education focused and still is an education focused club and community. Let's go back to the freshwater, because something you said, we grew up on lakes, pretty small lakes, and there weren't that many spots, right? I mean, you could swim across this thing if you had a pretty good freestyle, but in general, you could kind of hit the same spots and know the fish weren't moving too much. Yeah, they might move a little bit deeper in times of the year, but in general, you kind of knew the spots because they didn't have anywhere else to go. They're in a lake that literally had like a fence around it, let's just say. But saltwater, you kind of touched on it. And these fish could move drastically. I mean, some of these, big bull reds are going offshore, and then they're, coming back in during certain times of year. I mean, they're sometimes moving, many, many, many miles, where, because we always like to say they have tails and no fences, whereas in freshwater, they don't. So as I watch this video, I could see why someone, if they were like on vacation, they really wanted to catch, I think he caught a clown knife fish, pretty cool, or like a snakehead or something, and they were in some interesting place like Miami. Maybe you can find a couple spots that might be worth it, but in general for saltwater, I think it's a horrible idea. Like I would highly recommend not doing it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and because back to the freshwater thing, we grew up on lakes that maybe in a given year the water level might rise or fall like 10 inches. And with saltwater, literally every 6 hours, it's moving way more than that. So yeah, freshwater, the spot is definitely more important. Saltwater, not at all. Like I'm just now, once I understand the recipe and just practice it enough, I'm just completely comfortable going to some new area I've never been to before and just know what the conditions are going to be like and what the trends have been, and then look at a map, especially smart fishing spots where I can find the oysters and the depths a lot more easy than just a typical like Google map. It's really not. It's surprisingly easy once the code is cracked. But I still remember how bad it, how much it hurt when it wasn't working. It definitely took a little ways to do it, just because I was just never really had anybody hit me over the head and saying, don't focus so much about the spots, worry about spots and exactly what conditions each spot is good in, including the wind. That's the factor that a lot of people, that was like the last one that I added to my list that, especially in the summertime, is a really big deal.
And talk about why, and maybe give an example of when the wind would come into play.
Yeah, so in the summer, it's just especially a lot of the big fish. They're like, the cool thing about saltwater is a lot of the biggest fish feed up in the shallow water, and especially if you're like wading or kayaking, they're just easier to access. But on a summer day, really throughout the entire summer, the water is just getting heated up to the point where there's less dissolved oxygen. The hotter the water, the less dissolved oxygen, which means that the fish are not going to be as energetic, or it's so low that they actually leave and go somewhere else, like to deeper water, or water that has more current flow, more water movement that will help increase the dissolved oxygen. So on the wind spectrum, just that water movement from, say, like a 5-10 mile an hour wind going across the bay is going to create some waves. And just that extra water movement is enough to boost that DO2 level just enough to make those fish happier. So all else being equal, if there's like a round bay and everything's relatively the same during the summer months, that whatever side is getting that wind pushing up on it is going to have the best odds of success. And that's just one factor, right? You also need to worry about the tidal flow, the current flow, because again, summertime dissolve oxygen is the big factor. We need to solve for it. So we need to look for water depth, water movement, that obviously that goes up to structure. So again, all this is covered in the fishing school, plus a lot more. So if this is new to you, or if you want to see the full spectrum, definitely check out the fishing school, and it shows examples of exactly how to identify the water depths, obviously the different types of structure like oyster bars and that sort of thing.
Yep, fishingschool.com. That's the URL. And the very first video talks about the 90-10 zone, and we'd be crazy not to mention that here on this podcast. And even when the gentleman on the YouTube channel there caught fish, if he was in that 90-10 zone, right? He even said, "Oh, there's some bait over there." And all of a sudden he's like, "I feel good about this spot." That usually means you're seeing some signs of life. You're seeing maybe some different structure and some depth changes with polarized glasses. Like, oh, this looks like it's going to be a hot spot. And when you start getting those strikes, that means it's a 90-10 zone. If you haven't heard that term before, not your fault. I don't think enough people talk about it, but it is true in Florida, in Texas, Carolinas, wherever you might be. And it's true inshore, offshore. It's true in lakes and rivers as well. And it means that 90% of all the feeding fish can be found in just 10% of any area for any given day and time and tide, et cetera. And it's crazy. I mean, we've taken drones up countless times. We've had other influencers and some of our other YouTube friends that have taken drones up and shown us this time and time again. If you have a screen that's 100%, it's like all the fish are in like one little area. And yeah, there might be a couple little roamers here and there, but like all the schools, like all the predator fish, all the feeding fish are in one little area. And so if you're not in that area, you're in a dead zone or an area you're very least likely to catch fish. But if you can put yourself in that 90-10 zone based on what Luke talked about, trends, right? Based on real-time trends, it changes everything. And I think once we really started focusing on that and not so much about buying $300 reels and things we didn't really have to have, it really changed things.
Yeah, and again, it's just learning the recipe. I can't stress enough the importance of it. And in the school too, it goes, everything's based on priority. If only you do this good, then everything else is easier. But then it keeps going down for those who want to get better and better. So after the 90-10, it talks about the positioning on how you position and approach the different spots that you find. And then we start going into tackle and rigging. The rigging part, especially on the more advanced side, is very valuable for really for everybody, I would say, but especially for people in high pressure zones. I learned some tricks fishing with different guys over the years on just how to fool the bigger, smarter fish in high pressure zones. You can't just throw a straight 40-pound leader and catch some big snook up in shallow waters during the daytime, especially with lures. But you can make some leader adjustments. It's called basically a tiered leader approach, where you go everything thin as possible, and then obviously beef up the business end, like the last 6 inches. So anyhow, all that stuff is in there, and again, it's all based on priority. So I just can't stress enough the importance of going through that.
Education.
And if you do get spots, never just get one either. That's another mistake that I personally used to make for many years. And just with coaching people, I hear it all the time. But hey, I went out, I was fishing for 6 hours and I didn't catch anything, or I caught like 3 fish. And okay, well, like, tell me about the spots that you fish. Well, I went to these 2 spots, and I'm like, hold on, you fished for 6 hours and you fished 2 spots and you weren't catching anything. Like, why did you stay on average 3 hours per spot? Like, if you get to a spot and you're not catching anything, I'd recommend 15 minutes max, unless you're seeing a bunch of life. Like that one individual saying, if he got there and saw some bait and some good stuff. Like, if I get a spot and I don't see, no matter how good it looks on the map or how confident I was in it, if I don't see bait fish or birds, or if it just looks dead, like no more than 15 minutes, sometimes 5. I'll bolt and go to the next one. Life is too short to stay in a dead zone. It's very rare that something goes from dead to like amazing in a short time period. So it's almost always best to pick up and move. Never spend 3 hours in a spot when you're not catching anything.
Agree. And then when you do find them, don't just catch one fish and leave. Stay in that. That usually means, in general, you might have found that 90-10 zone. There's probably more with them. You got a trip coming up. We have a Salt Strong, club. Obviously, the Inside Club with 65,000 members. And if you haven't joined, what the heck are you waiting on? Join us in there today. Guaranteed to catch more fish and save money on your tackle. Give them, I think this week, actually, free Slam Shady. We do it every month. We'll just give our members free pack of lures every month. And then we have a tackle tester, and then 20 to 30% off everything in our store all day, every day, and the app and all the other great things. And one of the cool things that has happened over the past year and a half, I guess 2 years now, is chapters. So we have Salt Strong local chapters that are meeting once a month. Great way just to meet awesome people. They're going out and doing cleanups, like, trash cleanups in areas. They're going out and having little boating events and kayaking events and just getting together and living life. Sometimes going out to the bar, having a beer afterwards, going to have dinner. Really, really neat to see the friendships that have been made there. And Luke's going to go down to one of the South Florida ones. So the question is, putting yourself in someone else's shoes who's going to a new area, because it's hours from where you live. I know you fish in that area before, but it's not a place you fish often. How are you thinking about approaching that area? And you could mention the area if you want. It doesn't really matter, but what's going on in your mind in terms of how are you going to pick your spots? Like how do you intuitively know that, hey, my highest chance of finding the 90-10 zone in this area is this, or because of this? What's the process?
Yeah, it's down in Marco Island. It's down like by it's actually Goodland, which is right next to Marco. Most people don't know Goodland, but they do know Marco. But it's basically right at the northern end of 10,000 Islands, and I choose spots there just the exact same way as I do anywhere else. Is really just thinking about the trends and just what we were talking about before. It's been hot lately, although it is cooling down a little bit. It's still on the hot spectrum. So it's all about dissolved oxygen. And so I'll be looking at the weather, days leading up to it, just to see which ways, which shorelines are getting hit with the most wind waves. And then obviously getting on that Smart Fishing Spots app, looking for oysters. That area has 1 million different mangrove islands. There's thousands and thousands of points that look really good. Typically, points with structure that also has current flow and wind hitting on them as like a good scenario. Like in Tampa, that's like a very good recipe, but there's really not that many points. So if you find one, it's usually really good. Down there, there's 1 million of them. There's not many oysters. So one of my secrets when I go down spots like that is I look for the anomaly type structure. And in this case, it'll be oysters. So I'll be using that oyster layer heavily, and specifically looking for zones with oysters that have wind and current flow pushing up on them. And it's obviously nothing's perfect, but statistically, that's going to have more feeding fish than the spots without as much structure. It's really just as simple as that. Because like all the mullet, all the bait fish are moving around, and so are the predator fish, and they're gonna stop again more consistently in the zones that have the cooler water, meaning there's good water flow, and most importantly is lots of structure for them to have protection and to feed more easily. And so oysters are like, again, going up to like Jacksonville and stuff, there's oysters everywhere. So you kind of got to switch it around. But areas without many oysters, that oyster layer is like by far my most trusted layer, or I should say most relied upon layer for finding good spots.
And if you don't know, Smart Fishing Spots has a button on the left called layers, tons of layers, and oyster bar layer happens to be one of them. You click a button, and in seconds, it shows you every single oyster cluster out there. So no more having to sit there on a satellite map, wondering if that's an oyster, not zoom in and out, and no more having to drive around to find them. It takes all the guesswork out.
And also there too, there's 1 million islands, and the cooler zones with structure are really where the fish will, statistically most fish will congregate. And down there, the waters, it's not like Tampa where I've been fishing most of the time. I've been living there the past 7-8 years. There, the satellite maps kind of show everything. Like you can, especially that we have a high res layer in Smart Fishing Spots, and like you can kind of see like 5-6 feet down. So you can see just with your eyes what's happening down there. The water is a little bit more kind of chocolate milky, or like kind of whitish. And so then we have a 1 foot contour layer. So I'll be using that to see, okay, where are the deeper channels, and meaning that deeper, cooler water is flowing in and out, knowing that the structure zones near those deeper channels are going to be more comfortable to the fish. Therefore, more fish will be holding near them. So oyster layer number 1, and then I'll try to find specifically some of the oyster layers that are closer to the channels. And I'll be filming. I'll go down there and film the trip. I'm actually fishing with John Freeman, who's one of our very first members, back in 2015. I've met him multiple times. He's come to a lot of different events over the years, and I've always been wanting to fish with him. He's just such a nice guy. And he lives down in that area. He lives maybe 30 minutes away. And so I was like, hey, John, you happen to be free on Saturday. So he's free, and I'm super excited to be fishing with him. So I'm really looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Last time we were down there, it's been many years, we went and met another Insider member, and he hadn't really fished there either. I don't know if he ever even caught a snook there, if I recall. And when you're on the water, right, it's one thing to have that game plan as you hit the water, but when you do start looking at some of these spots, and I remember it vividly, because you're with an Insider member. There's always a little bit of pressure. They got to catch some fish. And we saw some white egrets, some white birds who were feeding on a point that happened to have some oysters nearby. I mean, exactly what Luke just explained. And so it was just textbook. I think we caught 3 snook right there on that little point. They weren't massive snook, but they were snook. And it's always good to get some fish on the board right away. So when you're on the water, look for things like that. The white birds, especially if you can tell they're feeding. The oysters are huge, mullet jumping. I'm curious, what are you going to start with? What lure?
Well, this tournament is actually, I think you can only use 1 or 2 lures. I think it's you can only use a Slam Shady paddle tail. I think I'll have to see exactly what the details are. But if it was up to me, I'd be starting with topwater in the morning. It's a snook tournament, so it's trying to, I think it's the biggest snook. So topwater is just fun, and big snook love it. The Skin Lipper XL is another one that I would ideally like to use. And then once the sun's up, the prawn, getting that prawn on a weedless football jig, just pitch in the mangroves, find those deep mangroves and bouncing along the bottom there. Again, those fish are gonna naturally shift out to the deeper, cooler water during the middle of the day. And that prawn, something about it that just the big snook love it. I've had more overslot snook on the prawn, 10x more than any other lure that I have. So once the sun's up, that'll be I'll surely be throwing the prawn, as long as it's in the tournament bylaws, if you will. I'll have to go read them. But most important, it's all about finding the fish. If I can't throw the prawn, I'll throw the paddle tail in the same spots.
Well, we'll definitely have you back on next week after the tournament to see how it went, and see if your spots all paid off. But yeah, that was really the big thing. Just wanted to bring that up. I thought it was interesting. I don't know if it's a trend or not. I think you spent a little time too looking to see if there's a ton of fishing spots. There's not on Facebook. I think there's probably some young people trying to make a quick buck selling some of their mostly freshwater spots. I haven't seen saltwater ones, but if it does become a thing, I would just say buyer beware. Then again, if you got a ton of money and you're confident that at least 1 out of 10 is going to hit, and you just want to catch fish, I don't know. Maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. I really could see it for that, that South Florida. If you really wanted to catch a clown knife fish or something really unique, because those things are sometimes in people's backyard little condo ponds, or that one time we went behind a Home Depot and it was just a retention pond and it was loaded with peacock bass. So I don't know, maybe that would be the one exception. But as we've hammered with saltwater in particular, fish have tails, no fences. It's all about understanding the trends combined with education. Because if we just give you a bunch of spots, it's not that helpful. You need to have the spots, but you also need to know why the fish would be in those certain spots at certain times of the year, the day, the tide cycle, et cetera. And then how to fish that spot. And by the way, Smart Fishing Spots combined with our Smart Fishing game plans and all the coaching we have that kind of helps do it all for you. You're just trying to shorten the learning curve, maximizing your time, maximizing the amount of fish you catch. And so if you haven't joined us, once again, come join us at saltstrong.com. You could go click up the top, join right now in the Insider Club. And we always have a couple big promises. One, once you get in, you're locked into that rate for life as long as you stay. Obviously, if you leave, you might have to pay more. And number two, if you join the annual plan, which most everyone does because it's an irresistible offer, it has a 365-day 100% money back guarantee. So for that first year. So if you're not happy for any reason, if you're not catching more fish, one, reach out to us and let us know how we can help. We got coaches who love to help. So one, like reach out and don't just, say, oh, this didn't work. Because many times when we do hear from people that it's like Luke said on that one example, oh, you fish 2 spots in 6 hours. Like, let's work on that. And I mean, I can help you point you in a couple better directions. But two, if you aren't feeling after a year you haven't caught more fish and save money, then shoot us a message, email, call, give me your money back. No questions asked. That's how confident we are it will work for you. And just hitting that 65,000 members, which is crazy. I still remember when we hit 2,000. We were fishing in St. Pete and we just hit 2,000 that day. I was like, oh man, we're on to something. And we've met just some incredible people. I mean, you're getting to go down, spend some time with an OG member and a lot of other just awesome members down there. So get in the club, get in the community, and get in these chapters. It really is just an awesome, awesome place. Everyone's positive. There's no dumb questions. And everyone's just super helpful. I went to this same group you're going to see, the Fort Lauderdale chapter. I went down there to speak, and I was just kind of sitting in the back listening to 2 guys that just met each other, and they were both on their phones showing smart fishing spots, and they're both land-based anglers down at Fort Lauderdale, and they were showing each other like their spots and helping each other out. Like, hey, let's go meet up next Saturday. I was like, man, this is what it's all about. Uniting friends and family through fishing. So come join us there at saltstrong.com, and then fishstrong.com has all of the tackle. And if you remember, you'll see very special pricing for you behind that paywall. And the fishing school is the other URL we mentioned. And that is where you can go start from beginner and go all the way to advanced. Pretty cool school. Anything else, Luke? I think I nailed it all.
Yeah, I mean, just emphasize the school. If you're looking to just get better spots, the best way to do it is to learn fish behavior and learn how to read a map. And then you can find a million spots within like minutes once you get used to it. And we're constantly showing new tools. And as more and more technology comes out, obviously we update it. But that is by far going to be more impactful than going and buying a handful of spots off of Facebook Marketplace for sure.
Yeah. True that. All right, guys, we appreciate you big time, and we'll talk to you on the next episode. Peace.
See ya.
Want more fishing tips, shortcuts, and tools so you can catch more fish per trip? Then head over to saltstrong.com now and join the movement. Tight lines, and thanks for listening.